and it's 6 p.m. This is the Spiritual Discussion Program. I'm Saad in Southeast London, and with me as usual is Gregory. Gregory, the weather in London here, it is right now still, I will say the sun is out still, and is, from what I can see, it seems it's cloudless at the moment. And today it's been a little chilly, and we did have some rain, which seemed to turn into snow, but it didn't really land. The snow didn't land. So, but we're expecting Arctic weather in the next few days. So quite cold, freezing weather. So please tell us, Gregory, how is it where you are?
It is chilly, and it is cloudy.
Right.
But it's okay.
Okay, good. Good. Yes. So welcome, listeners. As I say, this is a spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And we always have a new topic for discussion every week. The topic tonight is yearning to be true human beings. Yearning to be true human beings. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail message? The Grail message, in the light of truth, by Abdushin, is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of... Apologies, I'm getting some sounds. I apologize for that. It offers a picture of explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized, and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover, through the intuitive perception, if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Abdushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic we're discussing tonight is yearning to be true human beings. Yearning to be true human beings. You can join in this discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, as you know, I like to look up the title or the topic for the discussion in the dictionary, and the first word we have is yearning. So I looked it up. I looked in 2 different dictionaries. One of them, the first one, it said, this is the meaning of the word yearning, a feeling of intense longing for something. I won't go to the next one yet. So is that a good definition, Gregory? A feeling of intense longing for something.
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's very good to hear today. That makes a difference from a change from the previous times. So thank you for that. So I'm going to go with another definition from another dictionary. And if you can tell me what you think, what you say about this one. It says a strong feeling of wishing for something, especially something that you cannot have or get easily. So I'll repeat that. A strong feeling of wishing for something, especially something that you cannot have or get easily.
You can already say that this second one is not as deep as the first one. So the first one seemed to capture the essence.
Right. So we'll go with that. Thank you for that. And I'm going to continue as the topic is yearning to be true human beings. So if you look up the word true, which it says the meaning of true is in accordance with fact or reality, or accurate or exact. How good is that, Gregory, for the discussion tonight?
I think that's pretty, that's a fact in itself.
Okay, so to be real human being, true human being, so basically to be a human being, I will say. So then, okay, so the next words is human beings or human being, and that I looked up again, also in the dictionary. It says a culture-bearing primate classified in the genus Homo, especially Homo sapiens, the species Homo sapiens. Human beings are automatically, I say that again. Human beings are anatomically similar and related to great apes, but are distinguished by a more highly developed brain and the resultant capacity for articulate speech and abstract reasoning. So this looks like a scientific definition there, Gregory. How would you say to that? What do you say to that?
one can already say that the definition, the dictionary definition, is highly intellectual. It's observing things from the outside. It hasn't concerned itself with that which is from the inside. That is that which articulates, that keeps the physical, what we see outside, that's what makes it alive. It hasn't talked about that.
Well, that's a very, how can I say, a big thing that is missing, that makes it alive. So could you say, give us a definition for our discussion for the human being?
Well, the human being has an inner core, which is of spirit. That is, by spirit, one is referring to that energy is spirit, however, of a higher category that is capable of becoming conscious. And then from there, one can then build on the process of becoming a true human being.
Right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So we have to, as usual, we always have to lay, the foundation of the discussion. So I think that is very good words we have, what we have said so far is a good foundation. So as we said, the topic tonight is yearning to be true human beings. So we are yearning to become human beings or true human beings. Gregory, I know this might sound silly, but it means what are we now if we are not a human being now? If we are yearning to be true human beings, are we like part human being? Or I know it sounds a very funny question.
No, it is not a stupid question, a funny question. Don't forget that yearning is a process. It's as if there's something which is sucking, which one is longing for. So it is a process. As with every process, you start from somewhere and you proceed until you get to the end of it. Only when you get to the end of it, the end now being self-conscious, then one will say one has become a true human being. That means one has completed that cycle and is able to use the innate abilities which have been granted to it. He or she has developed it, has cultivated it to bear fruits. Only then will one say one is now a true human being.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. I'm trying to reflect on that. So you said there has to be like a starting point, and obviously there's also an end point. So I think we better find out what is the starting point. So, you mentioned we are a spirit, human beings are a spirit, energy, but something that is, you could say, wanting to be conscious, or has consciousness even. So what is the starting point of the human being, Gregory?
Before one discusses that, one may consider learning a language. When you have to learn a language, at the beginning you pick words. You start joining, first you have to understand what the words are, then you join words to form sentences, and before long you're able to articulate yourself. That means the thoughts which you have within you, you can now articulate this with your development as you move along. So it's the same thing that is meant here. At the beginning, you have that the inner core of man is striving to understand what creation is, how it operates in its laws. And it takes quite some time for the human personality to learn the language which creation offers. And this language is learned first through one's intuition, one's thoughts, or even whilst here on earth, the physical reality that one has. So it is the cultivation of the talents, which talents have been sown into the human personality, such that in cultivating it to bear fruits, it will then become conscious. From consciousness of the surrounding to self-consciousness of the human spirit.
Thank you for this answer and the picture you're painting there, Gregory. You mentioned language there, and we all have to, in this earth, we have to learn a language to communicate with, let's say, our parents and people around us, to function. And but then I thought, okay, the beginning of the journey on the earth, we're talking about the journey on the earth. You come as a baby, and of course you don't know anything. You just learn everything from, by watching and observing, and you just make noises, if I can say like that. You communicate. I guess somehow you're communicating, and the parents seem to work out what that means. And so what? I'm just trying to understand this term language, Gregory. It comes in different, we can have language, like different countries have their own languages, of course, but then there's the language which, let's say, a child or baby speaks to his parents, you could call it a universal language, which the parents don't even know about, and they have to learn it at least the first time it happens. And then I'm even looking at nature, animals, and having to adapt to the situation they're in. So it's like any situation, there's a sort of a communication going on, whether it's verbal or non-verbal. There's some communication. You could call it So what I want to ask, Gregory, the language, when you're using language, it's not only verbal, right? It's non-verbal as well.
Of course, it is more of non-verbal, for the verbal is the one that affects speeches. There is another which has an impact on the 5 senses. So you learn not only by touching, you learn from smells. You learn from what you yourself also see.
Okay. Yeah, so it's multi-level, really. So I'm just saying, so the word language, we must see it in a very broad way. So I'm trying to connect that with yearning, the word language. Language is the mode that we communicate, obviously, and then so that's okay. So that's one of the parameters we have to consider, that we have to apply. The language, you have to apply language. So Gregory, the yearning, is it built inside every human? The yearning to, how can I say, just to, you could say, as a function of being alive, one has to, like, there's a purpose, and when you're being alive, you have to do something, you know, even if it's just to eat or just to move from A to B. So I want to ask Gregory, is the yearning at the beginning, is it like a experimental or exploratory, you know? Because I'm trying to understand, is there something programmed within us that we must go from A to Z, if I can say it like that, a particular path, or yeah, how does that work?
When the word yearning is used, one may replace it with another expression, a longing. When that word longing is used, the picture, which picture is a pointer, that arises is that of some form of opening, some development that leads to maturity. So in that case, for that which has that longing or that yearning, the need is there to develop, to be able to speak a language, which language is for communication.
Oh.
In that case,
yeah,
you will find that there must be an exchange of information between he himself or herself and the outer world. So there must be some communication. And communication only makes sense when one understands the language that one needs to use to mature. Take, for instance, here we are communicating. We're able to communicate because we have learned the English language. For someone who speaks a different language, which we cannot understand, how can we then communicate with that person? So, nature itself, through which we ourselves came, speaks to us, speaks a language, which language we ourselves need to understand gradually, albeit gradually, in order to respond to the needs of nature. But this time, that longing, which is referred to, is the longing to be able to develop the intrinsic qualities of the spirit, to be able to go back to its origin, where the language of intuition is that which is used for communication.
Thank you for that, Gregory. So actually, yes, so language we are supposed to be using as humans is the intuition, which is not non-verbal, you know. It's a sensing, and you just, you know, you don't actually speak it as such, but you just sense, it's like from within you have this voice saying this is the way, or that's how we should go, but it doesn't, you know, you don't hear the words. So it's a very, somehow it works on a different level, let's say, than the words that we, you know, like you and I are speaking now. So
what you and I are speaking, these are external communication. There is the internal communication, which source of that communication is one's intuition. Therefore, one may say that the intuition carries that innate ability to be able to express itself within the five senses for external exchange of information.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. I'm just, as we're talking, things are, let's say, starting to make sense gradually within me. And you can say, the topic is yearning to be true human beings. So you could say the intuition is like the true language, and the other, you said, were external. The words that we're speaking are external language, you could say.
Correct.
So, right, yes, it's all coming to, it's quite a lot to take in, you can say, but it's sort of falling into place as well as we go along. And I hope the listeners are following how we are talking at the moment. Everything is an opportunity to grow and learn, So here I'm also seeing things. So thank you for that, Gregory. Now, let's say the direction of the yearning. Look at that, Gregory. Everybody, let's say, wants to, we all want to grow. We think about expanding and knowing more. So is one of the yearning, Gregory, is, you could say, the first part of yearning, and you said you equated yearning to be longing, because we human beings, we like to explore. We see that in the earthly world all the time. So is you could say, the first longing is to obtain knowledge? Is this the first goal?
That longing triggers us to explore further than what we already know. So it is because that longing is there, that's why we're able to explore further than we had before, because we need to obtain confidently true responses, further knowledge. That means we need to expand our horizon to come to recognition. What we have about us are cognitive objects. However, when through the longing we explore further, then gradually we are able to come to recognitions. It is through these recognitions of these objects, of these expressions, of these impressions which assail us, it is the recognitions that grant us the confidence that our knowledge expands.
Wow, there's a lot what you've said in that just now, Gregory. There's a cognition and then there's recognition. And the aim is to come to recognition of the things that we are experiencing or seeing. Impressions, expressions, you said objects.
Yeah, but if very quickly,
yes,
here we are speaking English. Don't forget, when you started initially the language, you gradually, you had to associate, the words were already there and the objects were there. You had to gradually associate an expression to an object. And over time, you now know what the language is trying to convey to you, because you now have objects and you now have expressions which associate one object to a particular expression. And that is gradually, you now learn the language and say, this is my home, this is my car, this is my body. So these things, you can see how we gradually associate objects to certain expressions. Only in that fashion are we able to come to recognition.
Thank you for that picture and answer there, Gregory. Dear listeners, I want to let you know you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. If you would like to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic we are discussing tonight is yearning to be true human beings. Yearning to be true human beings. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space Grail message, space the topic of the show tonight, which is tonight it is yearning to be true human beings. And the recording will be of this show will be the next day. So, and of course you can also listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, we've been talking about, using a language. And if you use the baby as a good example, because first he doesn't speak any words, he just observes and makes noises. And then, as you said, later we learn to associate objects and expressions with what we are trying to express. And then we make all those connections and we learn all that without thinking too much about, about this process, but that's what happens. So there's a yearning there. I mean, the yearning is, okay, when you're a baby, you want to be, you're hungry, you want to eat, and you need certain things, and you just cry. But somehow the parents are able to get the meaning of these crying, even though it's not expressed exactly in the words. So somehow we have this ability to, adapt to the situation and to, learn. Now, Gregory, we always talk about nature and natural laws, and I'm trying to see how it's happening in this situation. So yeah, I want to ask Gregory, nature has designed us as human beings to sort of on this journey of our life, but as they say, we don't know the journey, what it is at the beginning. It's a discovery. So I think I may have asked this question already, but I just want to clarify this. So Gregory, is it like a trial and error in our journey to sort of grow and develop?
One would not use that word trial and error. One would use that there is a request and a response. That request is in form of an initiation for something to be answered, for a query to be answered, and subsequently we get a response. If the response corresponds to our longing, to our yearning, then we associate that in that particular way, that if we do this, this is what our response will be. We do that in the earthly, that means using the five senses. We also do that in our thoughts, and we also do that in our intuitions. We are very familiar with these things in using our five senses. We're not so very familiar the returns which we get in our thoughts. Neither are we very familiar with that of the intuition. So one would not classify or categorize that it is trial and error. One will classify or categorize this as request and response. And it is when you start putting these requests and responses together, gradually you build up confidence. And then subsequently, you can now move forward, upwards, courageously.
Thank you for that answer there, Gregory. You're really making me move on to the question which I was going to ask a bit later on, but I will bring it up forward now, because in the Bible it is Jesus says, I'll read it out from Matthew. It's Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 to 11, and briefly it says Jesus saying, "Ask and it shall be given you." So I'll just read the whole those paragraphs. Verses, I should say, from Matthew chapter 7. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds. And to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? If he asks for a fish, will you give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. So that's what is taken from Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 to 12, I think it is, where Jesus is talking about ask and it shall be given to you. I think, Gregory, that's really a good picture of what you have been just saying. Anything you'd like to sort of say further on that?
Well, it is good you read out this particular passage, because first one should have inner clarity that the expressions that Christ used basically are that of the Spirit to obtain full clarity in asking or in knocking. All these can be perceptible if one looks or examines carefully the three different areas: the knocking or the asking in our physical world, the knocking or the asking in the worlds of our thoughts, in our thought forms, and also that of our intuition through our intuitive perception. That is the main area which Christ was referring to, using one's intuitive perceptions to communicate with the source of all life, with the power that streams through life, through its activities. For only through the intuition as such can spiritual levers be moved. So there are three areas: the deeds, which are perceptible here on earth using the five senses. You can also knock. You can also seek, which is some form of investigation. In thoughts, you can also knock, you can also seek. And then in spirit, where Christ really hammered or emphasized in the seeking, that means using the ability of the intuitive perception to ask diligently. It gives the impression that the person who asks in spirit, who asks using one's intuitive perception, in all naturalness must find. For motion is a law in creation, and that motion of one's intuition, of one's intuitive perception, is able to make contact with the living streams of power flowing through creation. So if one is energetic enough, then one is able to make contact. And definitely, whoever seeks in response will find, depending on what the human personality seeks.
Thank you very much for this answer there, Gregory. What I noticed in what you said and what Jesus is saying, you've implied, you've said that you're making contact when you're seeking, or when you're asking, or when you're knocking, you are using the power of the Almighty. You're working with the power of the Almighty, let me say that. It may not, some people may not be aware of that, or are not even thinking, they're not interested in that even. And yet, whether you're a believer in the Almighty or not, this act of asking, knocking or seeking, it just works for everybody the same. Is that right, Gregory? So it's not dependent on your level of belief in the Almighty. It's just you do something, you ask, and then like I said, there's a request, you put a request, and then there's a response automatically for everything, not based on your belief.
Precisely, depending on whether the human personality is asking physically or in thoughts, like in the longing, or in one's intuition. Many do not know what the intuition is. However, when they are struck in deep sorrow, all the rigidity which has held them prisoner, those rigidities, rigidness in thoughts, all those will vanish. And then they are able to ask in humility. In that particular scenario, there will be response because the human personality has that innate capability to ask in humility and in diligence. That being the case, there will be responses. There are responses which are in spirit. There are responses which are in thoughts, and responses which are also physical, perceptible to the five senses. So one has to look at the different categories.
Thank you for highlighting and emphasizing that three levels of, you could say, communication or requests and responses. You could say, like you said, no, I'm just forgetting what you said suddenly, is you can say the intuition, the thoughts, and the deeds, which are visible, the deeds which are visible. So these three levels, the activity of asking and receiving the response, it works in all these three. Now, Gregory, just to make a little bit more clarity on this activity, having thoughts, working of the thoughts, working of the intuition, and working of the deeds. So, what I want to, and the longing. I just want to bring everything sort of into very big, sort of quite a lot of clarity in it. So, Gregory, when we are hungry, we need the food. Let's say that's what that desire is, a physical desire. It's not a longing from this, you could say, your spirit. It's just the need of your body, right? So that's one level of activity. Then there's the thoughts, where I can't think of an exact example there, but maybe you are concerned about something earthly, you could say still. So let's say you have a problem which you can't find a solution, and you are thinking about it. We say thoughts. And then you just allow those thoughts to, you could say, grow and come together, and then maybe, as I said, the next day, something happens, something comes to you that, oh yes, this is the way forward. So I can't think of anything specific on that one. And then there's this intuition there. So the longing of the intuition. I'm trying to think of that. What example there could be for that? Maybe you can help, Gregory. Is there any? Could we give examples on these three different levels, Gregory? So it's quite clear. This is a deed. I know that it sounds clear from the word. So an example of a deed working, a thought working and intuition working?
Very which most of the time is not encouraged, and that's of politics. You know fully well that many a person might be thinking of one thing. However, the deeds are different. What they are thinking is not what they are doing. Most of the time you find this in politics. And you hear the expression, read my lips, which clearly tells you the deeds are different from the thoughts. Which thoughts are within us? So if you have on the physical level deeds which do not harmonize with your thoughts, we also have the possibility of one's intuition which do not even harmonize with your thoughts. So
sorry, Greg, just to interrupt. Your voice is going in and out, so I don't know if your microphone is moving. So just start again there, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm putting my voice very close to the microphone.
Yes, that's better. It's clear now.
Yeah. There are three categories: the deeds, the thoughts, and one's intuition. Most of the time, our thoughts do not harmonize with our deeds. That means what we are thinking is different from what we are doing. Also, you have the scenario where our intuitions do not harmonize with our thoughts. In the scenario where you have our intuition harmonizing with our thoughts, harmonizing with our deeds, then we have genuineness. Then we say things are genuine, else they are not genuine. For in our intuition, when we make requests in a humble way, at that state we are humble. The returns will come. If when the returns come, we are no more humble, then the impact of the good which we had called for will bounce off us because we ourselves have changed. The same thing happens in our thoughts, for thoughts are able to attract other thoughts, although not as powerful as that of the intuition. When the goods, that which is beneficial, when it comes, if in our thoughts, instead of love, we now harbor hatred, then those returns cannot bring us any benefit because we have changed our states from that of love to that of hatred. So one can see how these things go from one's intuition returning with goods which are beneficial, but our thoughts have changed, and therefore it cannot have any good impact upon us, or thoughts returning and our deeds have changed, and you find it doesn't have any beneficial impact upon us. So these are the challenges that many a person has, because they are doing one thing, they are thinking another direction, their intuition is in a different direction, so there is no harmony. Harmony means that things resonate. Like you have in a band. You can imagine one is playing a guitar, the other one is chopping wood anyhow, the other one is shouting. You cannot harmonize these things. If you have a case where these three areas are harmonized, then it becomes a blessing for the human personality.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer and picture that you've been painting. What you're showing clearly is that things have to align, 100% align to have a fruitful result. If it's like if you're not putting the full effort in whatever work you're doing, then don't be surprised the result isn't so successful.
Correct.
And obviously, if you've got contradictory things going on in terms of thoughts, words, deeds, and the intuition, I'm mixing them up now, but we use these things. We have thoughts, we have words, we do the deed, and we also have our intuition, behind that. And if they're contradicting each other, then obviously the fruit of that will not be again so successful, because it's like half-hearted. You're doing something half-hearted, or even contradictory, like I say. So yes, all these things must align. Now, just to remind us, the topic is yearning to be true human beings. So the aim is to become, or the longing is to become a true human being, not a fake human being or false human being. So what is a true human being? I would say, from what you've just said, you're expecting the things, the three elements or workings must align, because then what you say is what you mean.
Correct.
Right.
That's why it said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Else, you are saying yes, you mean no, and you mean some other thing. Then the returns are confusing. They do not align. And that is why many times there are no fruitful returns, because everything has been mixed up.
Yes, thank you for this. And it's all simple and clear. So now I want to see, again, the topic is yearning to be true human being. So yes, let your speech be yea or nay. So that's obviously one thing. Now, Gregory, what about being doing good? We know that everywhere it is said to do good, or to become, do things which are like become an idealist. You try to be an idealist. But Gregory, let me understand. Can we achieve these things on the earth? Because let's say what we say. Let's say we're trying to aim for perfection. Can we be perfect on the earth? Because it seems things are not so ideal as they say. Everything is there. Maybe it's a striving only. You just try to achieve the best. For perfection. So can we achieve any perfection on the earth, Gregory?
Gradually, one can, in a step-by-step fashion, arrive at such completeness where you strive for the alignment of your physical activity with your thoughts activity, with your intuitive activities. Then the power which moves the intuition has full effect on one's thoughts, which has full effect on one's physical deed. As is normal, one must start with little things. Only when one has been doing it in little things would you then build up the confidence before the courage to move forward courageously. The sad thing is, many a time, we ignore these little things. We wish to have the big things and move the mountains and ask the sun to move out of its orbit because we want to try. That will not happen. If, however, subsequently, in our little thoughts, in our little deeds, and in our intuition, we ensure they align, then our activities will be such that so much power we become perceptible in the deeds. Things will become more complete and more beautiful. That is one of the goals which the human personalities, step by step here on earth, has to achieve.
Thank you very much for this answer, Gregory. I've got more things to ask you, but before I do that, I want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. It's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abrushin. If you are interested to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, excuse me, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is yearning to be true human beings. Yearning to be true human beings. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. If you're outside of UK, you can contact us on 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call or text or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is yearning to be true human beings. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, it's quite clear, let's say we're striving for being ideal human beings or true human beings. In fact, we are yearning to be true human beings. And I'm wondering, So we already said let your speech here be yea or nay. So all of these, your words, your thoughts, your intuition, your deeds, they must align. You mean what you say, you do what you say. All those things must align. Now, I'm wondering, in, let's say, religious or spiritual teachings, there are certain practices people do. For example, worship or prayer. You could say fasting and meditation, and let's say let's say number of practices people do. So my question is, first of all, is that helpful? Those practices, are they helpful, and are they necessary? Let me say, first of all, are they helpful, and number two, are they necessary to become true human being?
Well, it depends on the practices which are mentioned. If one considers the case of fasting, in the first instance, the physical body, one has to ensure is in a sound state, such that it's able to carry out its necessary activities. Therefore, if the physical body is not well cared for, it is unable to resonate with the spirit, or is unable to resonate with the vibrations of the spirit. And therefore, any strong impressions coming from the human personality deep within is unable to register properly. So there will be no need to consider the case of people who do not even have enough to eat, and then asking them to go into fasting. That means they deprive their physical body the little nutrient which is supposed to make them strong. However, those people who have so much to eat, of course, it will be helpful if they do not engage too much in such activities. So it depends on the person. There must be moderations in these things. That which nature has granted the human personality to use, that is the physical body, that must be well maintained such that it harmonizes with the spirit. The same thing happens with our thoughts. When one is hungry, ask yourself, is one able to pray? That means to use one's intuitions effectively. You find that one is easily distracted. Prayer in itself is an activity of the spirit, an activity which asks or which makes use of the streams of power. So the human personality, to be able to make use of the streams of power spiritually, that human personality must open up to allow these streams of power to have an impact upon it, an impact in accordance with the laws of creation, of nature, through which it, the personality, also came into existence. So that tool which has been granted must be made optimal to be able to vibrate in such a way that is able to communicate effectively with the Spirit. Some of the practices which have been put in place due to ignorance, and therefore you have people asking for things which are not possible in creation in the realm in which they are. Therefore, it is necessary for the human personality to reflect very carefully that which it wishes to ask for.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer. And, it's so important to have a right picture of, this world that we are living in. Some things are thoughts, some things are deeds, some things are intuition, words, and the practices, like we said, fasting, prayer, maybe meditation, other things, whatever they are. Everything, as we know, it has to be taken in the right context. But you have to know where it fits in this world, As it's obvious if somebody's hungry, he's not ready to fast, obviously not. So everything has to be in the right context, but you need the big picture. Now, I'm wondering, again, Gregory, in the Bible it says, and the listeners too, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. All these things will be added unto you. That's from Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, which I'm assuming is a quote from Jesus there. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, which I assume is God's righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So my question on that, Gregory, this yearning that we are talking about, longing, are we meant to long only for spiritual things, or can we also long for earthly things?
First, the origin of the human spirit is the spiritual realm. Therefore, in accordance with the laws of attraction of homogeneity, in all naturalness, it's as if there is a longing. It's been attracted to move upwards. It's as if there's a sucking effect. That sucking effect is like a longing. Now, that being the case, it is the power streams which the human personality is able to make use of effectively that then have an impact on his thoughts, which then subsequently have an impact on the deeds. Therefore, all these things start first and foremost in that which is spiritual. All others are consequences of that which is spiritual. Therefore, it is right to seek first the kingdom of the Spirit, the kingdom of the Father. That which is permanent is that of the Spirit. For that is where it draws its strength. And it's also mentioned there, the righteousness. Only that which swings unconditionally in the laws of creation so as to bring benefit to the human personality, only that is right. Therefore, one can then talk of righteousness. Therefore, it is necessary to seek first the source, towards the source that is spiritual, in accordance with the creative laws, which are the laws of creation or the laws of nature. Then it is right.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. It's so clear, and you could say it puts everything in the right order. How we are meant to start and approach, in our seeking or in our longing or yearning. Now, Gregory, what I'm wondering also, although we haven't mentioned it in this show so far, we've mentioned many times in the past shows about virtues, that we are meant to develop virtues, patience, persistence, and there's so many, even I'm forgetting all the different ones. So, which you could say these are the steps to perfection, that virtues. Now, well, I'm wondering, Gregory, can we really develop all these virtues to perfection, to excellence, if we can call it excellence? Every one of us can, or is it some virtues let's say we just can do it, let's say, to perfection or excellence, I'm going to use that word, and others we just do, we just accept that's what we can do. I'm not even sure what to say exactly on that, but are we meant to achieve all perfection in all our virtues?
Of course it is possible. It is very possible if one starts with little things. The impossibility only comes in because the human personality ignores the little things, forgetting it is the combination of the little things that make up the big things. So once the human personality focuses on the little things, gradually but surely it will build up, cultivate those virtues which have been talked about again and again. But it must start with the little things.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Another question is this yearning or desiring, or longing, it never stops, We always, I'm thinking, maybe I'm confusing it, but in the earthly, we always want, looking for more knowledge, more money, more this. It's always more and more and more. And it's like we are never fulfilled. So I'm wondering, Gregory, does this yearning ever stop? Or, do we reach any point of fulfillment?
The yearning is more like a trusting effect that makes you investigate, to explore. Where the virtues come in is to ensure that in one's longing, one starts with the little things, in humility. Therefore, it is right. However, one cannot be longing to eat earthly food in such a way that instead of having 3 or 4 slices of bread, one wants to have 20 slices of bread and 10 eggs for breakfast and a whole cow for... You wouldn't call that one a longing. You will call that a different name. Therefore, that is not right. There must be modesty, and modesty is a virtue.
Thank you for that, Gregory. So there's like a balance. I just came up with that idea of balance here. So there's a balance.
Of course, there must be a balance.
Right. It's just it's like what I'm going to say is something. I'm going to say something like constant improvement. So you can have that desire to have constant improvement or excellence, as I was using before. So
Yes.
with that means you're always looking. Let's say we're looking at athletes, or sportsmen. They're always getting trained, but then new things are coming out to help in the training to develop themselves. To get more stamina, to some new technique. So they're always learning something, coming up with new things. So there's
One would
always.
say it is iterative. One has to be agile in spirit, and it is iterative. That means there's you pick a few things.
Sorry, Greg, can you bring the mic back to you? Bring the mic back.
Yeah. So there is the first run. It is iterative. You try and you get a response, you keep improving on it. That's what happens. Isn't that how we learn languages? Isn't that's how we learn to play instruments? Isn't that what the singers who sing, isn't that what they do? They keep trying and trying and trying. All right? It's iterative until you get it right. All right? And there's no end to it.
Thank you. Yes, that's good. That's good. I'm seeing that now. Now, Gregory, is there like an ultimate yearning? I mean, the yearning is, we've said there are you could say the virtues that we are developing. And then, and the aim is to become perfect, you can say ideal in these virtues. But maybe, Gregory, there's another ultimate yearning, which is happiness. We want to be longing to be happy. I mean, this is a common thing that people say, they're looking for happiness. So is there something called like ultimate yearning?
Only when the personality has accomplished a task successfully, in return, it becomes joyful and happy. So the happiness or joyfulness is linked to the accomplishment of a task. If that task is to learn to play an instrument, only when that is accomplished in a step-by-step way, only that brings confidence. With confidence is the joyfulness which brings happiness. In case of the human personality, these virtues which are being talked about and discussed in a step-by-step way is able to accomplish many a task, which task may seem impossible from an earthly point of view. But in striving forward, in confidence and courageously, that journey of 1,000 miles that started with the first step subsequently will be accomplished. Therefore, happiness is possible. Joyfulness is possible.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Another question on this is the time. Is there some time limit to achieve this, perfection of perfecting virtues and, reaching happiness? Is there a time limit on it?
Of course, there are time limits. That which is here on the physical there is time bounded, but is different also with our thoughts and also from that of the intuition. For with one's intuition, something which has been started now may require a second or a third at life to be able to accomplish it. The language of creation, which language we are supposed to learn through the cultivation of the virtues, that language, once it has been learned aright, will bear us upwards towards paradise until we are able to enter paradise. That is the ultimate the human personality can bear. That is different from what you have on earth, where things are in piecemeal. So the sort of happiness which the human spirit derives when it has arrived back home consciously is different from the piecemeal that one has on earth. For when it has arrived home as a self-conscious human personality, it is there then sure of eternal happiness in its further activities.
Thank you for this answer, Gregory. Another thing I'm wondering, so far everything you said is based on like an individual person, how can I say, all the how can I say, the actions and responses or reactions are based on one individual's own activity, but we don't live on our own. We have other fellow human beings, some of them trying to obstruct us, some of them trying to help us. We like living in a community, especially on this earth, of fellow human beings. So I'm wondering, Gregory, this journey, for our journey, is it really, how can I put it, is it only our own effort that will bring us success to, for the perfection, to achieve perfection, only that, or is there help we need from our fellow human beings as well? Because you've said all for one and one for all, if I can say, like a community thing. So is this journey to perfection, is it purely individual effort? Excuse me, sorry.
In the first instance, we as human personalities, we did not give birth to ourselves. Someone gave birth to us and had to nurture us. That already gives the strong impression of a community. Hence, the one for all and all for one. In the interaction with fellow human personalities who, like us, are striving to understand or to grasp the language of creation aright, there is the need for interactions with others. And in the support which others give and which we give in the care of their well-being physically, their well-being in thoughts, and their well-being in one's intuition. These are the things which the human personalities exchange and learn from one another. Of course, the person who engages in playing music is not the same person who is the doctor, is not the same person who is the footballer, is not the same person who is the engineer. Therefore, it is important to value the activities of others in the upbuilding of a community, of a society, of a state or a country. Again, it shows the one for all and all for one.
Thank you so much for that answer there, Gregory. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. To 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. If you want to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And you're listening, the topic we are discussing tonight is yearning to be true human beings. Yearning to be true human beings. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Space live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Space Grail message, space, apologies for the sound there, as I said, Grail message, and the topic of the show, which tonight is yearning to be true human beings. And you can listen to, of course, to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, I want to understand something about, let me just do something here. You know, we say yearning to be true human beings. But I just want to see if there are, because, you know, we have yearning is longing, or you can say desiring. And I'm just wondering, some people might have, you could say, different desires. And I just want to see if that's, you know, achievable or not. So, oh, I'm sorry, I seem to be getting some other sounds there, so I apologize for that. One of the things I'm thinking, Gregory, can a human being become like an angel or one of the gods. They I know people don't think about this so much nowadays, but in the Greeks or Romans, or it can be in any culture where they believe in these gods. And so I'm wondering, can a human being, through their longing, turn into an angel or some other sort of nature god?
The human personality started as an unconscious spirit seed grain or spirit seed germ. Only when it has cultivated the talents embedded into it in accordance with the creative laws, that is, with the will of the Almighty, only then can it arrive at its origin now as a self-conscious human personality. Before it came into existence, there was, or there is, the realms which are higher than its own. Outside of creation is the divine realm. The human personality does not or cannot exist in the divine realm, nor can it exist in the primordial spiritual realm. It can only exist it can only exist as a self-conscious human personality when it has cultivated those talents which have been embedded in it. In that case, it cannot go further. Therefore, the possibility of becoming something better than its capabilities does not exist. Many who hold the views that they can improve themselves until they become independent, that is completely wrong. For all personalities in creation depends on the provision of divinity. Above divinity is the Lord Almighty, who is completely independent. The divine beings depend on the power that streams out. In creation, all that is in creation depends on the power which has streamed out from divinity. Therefore, the human personality is dependent on the power and therefore cannot exceed its own intrinsic capabilities. Once it has arrived at its origin as a self-conscious human personality, then it is able, through its skills, to be able to advise, to be able to support those people, those personalities, or those spirit seed grains who are just about to start their journey of consciousness and self-consciousness. All that is below it, it is prepared to help in accordance with the laws of creation, with the divine laws in creation. Therefore, it will, in that case, seek for nothing further but to be permitted to exist eternally in joy and in happiness, sowing joys and reaping happiness in return.
Thank you for this answer, Gregory, and the picture you painted there. I've got, I know you've sort of answered this already in this last question that you answered, but I just want to explore another angle of it, which is that, we talked about human beings, the aim is to become self-conscious beings, and our journey started as unconscious spirit seed, you can say. And some people might be thinking, oh, so we are, going from unconscious to conscious. And the highest level of consciousness, you could say, is the God, the Almighty. And we want to unite with this high level of consciousness as human beings. So can they unite with the Almighty? Can a human being unite with the Almighty through being, how can I say, being absorbed into that high level of consciousness of the Almighty?
The human personality is of a species that is of spirit. It's not of the species of divinity, nor can it ever be of the species of that which is not dependent on the Almighty. Therefore, it is a creature that is dependent, that lacks that innate ability to improve more than that which has been implanted into it. Therefore, that possibility does not exist. Well, that possibility exists in the personal delusion of many a person who consider themselves capable of achieving, of going towards that which is divine. They lack that, and they can never achieve that. First and foremost, in humility, the personality must strive first to understand creation in its laws. That is the main task of the human personality. Only when it has achieved that is it able to be of use in creation, is it able to stand, to draw from the power, which power has always been there, and make use of it in accordance with these creative laws. For it, the human personality is a product in creation, is a child of creation. Only when it has cultivated these gifts will it now become a child of the Almighty, in the sense it's now able to swing unconditionally in the laws of the Almighty, which is at the same time the will, and also swing unconditionally in the love of the Almighty. That suffices for the human personality.
Thank you very much for this answer, Gregory. Another aspect I want to look at is, the world we live in. You could say man has behaved, or humanity has behaved. Yes, they have done good, but they have done a lot of evil as well, and which can put people, in let's say, at a disadvantage in us longing to be true human beings. or yearning to be true human beings. I mean, let's say when we pass on, we may not have other human beings around us to sort of block our progress, but on the earth we are sort of living with a fellow human beings, and if, let's say, we're if I give not a specific example, but just an example where you're living in a country where it's very oppressive and your freedoms are restricted, and you know, you can't speak your mind or act like that, so you have to almost live a privately your life in how you want to be or something. So my question is there, Gregory, when if there was a situation where someone is striving to be a true human being, but the circumstances around are not conducive to that, does one have to just wait patiently for the world environment to change around him or her, or they just have to wait for the bloom?
Consider the case of one who is longing and striving to become a true human personality. That longing and striving will ensure that the human spirit, the states of the human personality improves on a day-by-day basis. In that case, it will be directed, or other channels will open up through which it may then move in order to realize that which it needs to realize. How this may come about, it cannot, in all naturalness, envisage it intellectually, but definitely he or she who seeks diligently and in humility will find, because the paths that he or she needs to follow will open up as long as his or her intuition is very much alive. Then he will recognize the paths that he or she needs to follow. In that case, it needs fear no more.
Thank you for this answer, Gregory. You know, hope is very important, and in our, as we were talking about confidence, we need hope to lift us from, let's say, the darkness or the world of darkness around us. In some places, when it, you know, few people do feel down, so it's really, really good to know that you know, let's say our life is in our hands, not in other people who are trying to work against us, or our fate, I can say. I'm just thinking, you know, on the earth, Gregory, you know, we are born into a family, let's say, and into a race and nation, and later maybe we even follow some causes, like, you know, part of a group you become. And I'm wondering, and there's a feeling of belonging, you know, that's another word of longing, belonging together. Now, I'm just wondering, Gregory, how, when you're a spiritual person, should you be, how much close attention should you pay attention to your race and family and nation, when you know that you're a spirit, you know. Um, it's like, yeah. Do you ignore that when you know that ultimately you're a human being like another fellow human being? Or do you take it into, how do you take it all into account, these other things that you belong to?
In one's experiences at the beginning, like you kept saying, it's a journey. When you embark on a journey, you don't remain on the same spot. You move out to experience. So you move through different points, different circles, different cycles. However, the journey here on earth is a limited one. And therefore, people still have access to the starting point of their journey. That starting point could be their race, could be their hometown. All these things cannot be changed overnight. Therefore, there is the constant reminder for the to and the fro. At the same time, there is the personal improvement which the human personality makes. In the final analysis, when all has been said and done here on earth, it departs from that family, from that tribe, from that nation, and it progresses to those areas in the beyond where it has homogeneity with. That means there is the accumulations of the same species of maturity. So one does not expect when one goes over, one would say, oh, I'm African, or I'm an Englishman, or I'm Turkish, or Japanese, or Chinese. That does not exist. But what therefore exists is the state of maturity. After all, people speak different languages. However, their state of maturity differs. And even in interval, that is not the case. In that, where the goal is key, which is to ensure that there is success, which is of benefit to all. They support one another. Therefore, it is the support for one another in all areas that count.
Thank you very much for this answer, Gregory. We've come to the end of the show, listeners. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion about yearning to be true human beings. And I'd like to read, as I like to do at the end of the show, from the beginning of the Grail message, the foreword, which is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such, it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Abdrushi. So, dear listeners, that was the forward from the Grail message. If you wish to get more information on the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. Yes, listeners, so I hope you have enjoyed our discussion. And Gregory, anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing every listener a beautiful week.
Thank you for that. Same from me, listeners. Thank you for joining us. I wish you also a great week. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time with another topic. Take care now. God bless. Good night.